You might have seen this as well. So they've put all this on Trello, and it's got lots of chatter on Twitter and blogs. It's a great thing. People, that transparency, so anyone can see what GovUK is trying to achieve. This is from 2015, I think. I spoke to Neil the other day, actually. He said, what's interesting about this is, in the industry, this is a great thing. He says, for our stakeholders, its biggest use is not necessarily to get involved in the detail. Most of that happens in conversations, bilateral conversations. But at times, he can say to his stakeholders, it's online. You can see it, and oh, okay. So as a communication tool, it's brilliant. Yeah. And then they've sort of iterated on that. They've now put something, it's in product plan now, and they've sort of turned up the volume on measuring stuff. So each one of these is an objective. You can't see it, but it sort of spans out. And each of these is kind of an epic of some description, and they are the measures for it. Yeah. So they're truly getting some feedback on how well they're performing. I really love that. The only thing I don't like about this, don't show this film to Neil Williams, is it feels a bit Gantt charty. People could misunderstand that maybe. Yeah. I didn't ask Neil about that. But the fact that they're measuring stuff and they're talking about it, amazing. So that's GovUK. Has anyone seen this? I've got to get his name right. Roman Pichler has come up with the Go product roadmap. I love this. It's so simple. Yeah, it's clear. Basically, well, it's self-explanatory. What I like about this is it's very flexible. Metrics are very present. Again, though, it feels like it's software. Yeah, doesn't translate to operating models, things like that. It doesn't feel like that. I'm sure it could be used for it, but that's a great format. And the other interesting thing here is, it's got date or time frame. Again, it's giving you that flexibility. It's not saying that on this date, this thing will happen. Yeah, it's giving some flexibility. I love that. So, yeah, it doesn't feel like you could run a service off this so easily, maybe. And so this is a thing that I guess is the reason why I'm here, is because while I was on UC, we tried lots of different formats for plans and roadmaps, and we sort of arrived on this thing, 7 questions to build a roadmap. And I've written about it on a blog. And what's interesting about this was, so imagine, big room like this, slightly bigger wall, and we started getting a herd of people around it. Initially it was just this team and a few other people, but in the team were policy, ops, security. We had lots of bases covered. And we started putting time along the top, yeah? And at the time I think we did, 3 months, 3 months, 6 months, 6 months. Now UC was interesting because everyone had a really far in the future date in mind. Yeah, it was already, the timeline was already massive. Yeah, and there were some people on the team that were focused on the now. What's happening in the next 3 months? What have we got to deliver in the next 3 months? To your question, there was a lot of people actually, an awful lot of people thinking about the future and what buildings they needed to have, what staff they needed to have, what their job roles were, what the target operating model was. So there was like these different planning horizons. So we'd put the dates on pulse, milestone dates out of that picture, and that was just through conversations. Does that make any sense? So you've got this picture, wall, people, dates, these questions down the left-hand side. And then we literally, for each time frame, we asked these 7 questions. Actually, the first 6, really. What I learned from this was asking questions, the language you use, was a really useful technique to think about the outcomes of something. Yeah. So, for example, what are you trying to prove or learn? Was different for saying, what do we need to deliver? Yeah, it totally changed the conversation. Well, the first thing we needed to learn was, does the policy work? That was like the first big thing, Beyond scaling this across 11 million people, Does it actually work? Do people get it? Do couples work? Do people understand what couples are? Does that work? So by asking these questions, we got some really good things which we turned into goals. Yeah, they were outcomes. Yeah, is that same as your memory, Lara? So asking questions, you got better inputs. And this was from people that were very used to Agile or very used to Waterfall. Yeah, and on UC at the time, those two cultures clashed badly. But this, like, it unblocked all of that. It really did help. We still had some clashes, but it really did help. And then, you know, asking who are the users. So for UC, in the first 3 months, it was 100 people, cross-section of claimant base. Yeah? That was a really simple answer, but to arrive at that, it challenged the orthodoxy of we'll start with single people and we can't just do 100. We've got to roll this out by 2015. Yeah? So it started forcing some of those conversations. And then what are you operating? So having ops people around that wall, and so you're barking mad. You know, last time we did this, I had claimants, you know, people coming into my office, benefit office, and putting their child on the table and saying, "You're not paid me. What are you going to do about the child?" You know, it was stuff like that. I was like, "Oh, yeah." But ops people had a stake in how the service is going to be rolled out. Brilliant. So we knew we were delivering something. We knew we were going to take, you know, some years to do that. But we knew we were also iteratively and incrementally rolling this out. Ops people had a say in how that was going to happen. And then when you're in any big corporate environment, there's always a comms team, and there's lots of them, and it usually ends up in a big spreadsheet or a big document, the comms plan. Yeah, and reading that, you know, sometimes the messages, you know, it's not clear what you're saying. You know, you've got some things we need to say, you know, because the business needs to say this, don't say that, you know, all that kind of stuff. But by tracking across these 3 months, 3 months, 6 months, 6 months, what are we actually saying? What is the key messages? Yeah, tracking across left to right. We got a really simple story arc about how UC was rolling out. And this was sort of in public and within the organisation. Yeah, so it sort of simplified the comms massively just by doing this road mapping exercises. And of course, assumptions and dependencies. There are loads of assumptions and loads of dependencies on UC. And actually, doing this road mapping exercise with everyone contributing, we got really good coverage of dependencies and assumptions. They were out of a document. They weren't on a hard drive somewhere. They were on a wall, and we're actively talking about them. And we I think we did this over about a month and a half. I've got some pictures, by the way, so you can see what it looks like. Did this over a month and a half, and people, you know, it was on the wall, and we'd do it, have an intensive period, and then we'd walk away, and we'd come back to it a week later, more activity. Then different teams would join it, and then start adding to it. All of a sudden, you've got alignment around an approach, and you've got buy-in, even from the naysayers. So it's the activity, not the artifact. Capabilities. So this is an interesting one. Oh, sorry, does that make any sense to you at all? Maybe I've got some pictures that will help. Capabilities were an interesting one. So at the time of UC, there was another team, I think it was PwC, and they were doing a target operating model. And their planning horizon was right, you know, on the right. They wanted to understand what it was going to be like, and they were going to define all the processes across DWP, level 0 to level 5, I think. Yeah, increasing levels of granularity. So again, there was a bit of an approach clash there. But the one thing that joined us was this word, capabilities. So in Agile, we had epics, and PwC had people, processes, capabilities. But capabilities we could all agree on, it seemed. I think it was a really interesting concept. So we use capabilities to sort of map out the component parts of a service. Rubbish drawing, but this is like an online store, right? I wasn't going to put UC up there. And kind of the capabilities sort of broadly divided into two types of things. One was very digitally, and one was very businessy. So what I've tried to show there is pay, cart, search, browse, login, online shopping service, you know, fit this digitally. But then you've got like warehousing, drivers, vehicle management, training, returns. Yeah, this is more your world. You know, like, there's real people, real buildings. So these were our capabilities. You know, in Agile world, we might have called them epics, but we probably wouldn't have done the green stuff. It is green, believe me. So it sort of allowed us to see the whole service. Capabilities allowed us to see the whole service. The people, the processes, the products. And what it also allowed us to do is think about incremental delivery. So you can have incremental delivery on a driver. You need one driver to start with, then 10, then 100. Vehicle management, it can be a paper exercise to start with, and then you have a full system. You think of it in UC terms, it means you need one person to answer the phone, then 5, then 10, yeah? So there's the concept of minimum viable. These capabilities gave us the concept of minimum viable across the whole service. So you could be iterative and agile. Capabilities, wonderfully measurable. We're not capable, we have some capability. Thinking about data and real time, some capability. We're really capable. Wonderful measures. So you can start to see the patterns in your service from delivery through to operation and how you can measure how capable you are. Does that make any sense? Yeah? It allows you to see the service as a whole, not just the digital agile bit. And actually on UC, the ops folks, we set up an ops team, and they just ran with it. They started putting all the capabilities on the wall, and they said, well, we only need to train, 5 people to start with, I think it was. Let's start there. We don't need a big L&D platform. We just need to be in front of the people and speak to them. So it allowed the whole program to be iterative and agile. Now, software cycles are really fast, and some of the real people and process are a little bit bigger, but you're still building those feedback loops. Yeah. I also think if you were to do a quick exercise with people, say, what are the capabilities of name me a service? What's someone working on? PIP, I guess. Yeah, PIP. In 15 minutes, you can have a bunch of Post-its, colour them if you like, for the software bit and the people and processy bit. You can guess your capabilities within that service. They're the building blocks of your service, yeah? And you can do it really quickly. 15 minutes sees the whole service. And I think it's also a clue in how you design your organisation. So with an agile service delivery, you're going to start small, 1 cell. It's going to split, 2 cells, more, not too many maybe. It gives you clues on the org design. Yeah, it's nothing worse than an organisation saying there's a work stream over here that does this, and there's a work stream over there, and you find that that's just built loads of dependencies into the whole blinking thing. Yeah, so these are clues to org design, sensible org design. Some things naturally fit together. Yeah. Does that make any sense? Goody. And actually, each one of those boxes, there's clear interfaces into it. Again, with software, it's an API. Yeah. With drivers, it's maybe not software, it's maybe the phone. Yeah. But you can define the interfaces between these. Sort of, yeah, helps you design your organisation. Good bridge for target operating model for people. Yeah, you can have sensible conversations around that. Yeah. Okay, some pictures. Just stress, there's no one format for this. It's more about the conversations and the collaboration and the alignment you get out of it than the artifact. This is UC, Victoria Street, Happy Days. And these are our capabilities here. And there was some bunch of assumptions, users, and kind of some outcomes that we wanted, what we were trying to prove and learn. And we put these things here. Were kind of how we're going to measure that we're doing that. Yeah, so already we had a bunch of outcomes where everyone could align themselves, no matter what their methodology agnostic, and a bunch of measures that we could tell how well we were doing. Early days it was all about delivery. As you move to the right, it's more about operations. Yeah, so that was UC. And interesting, this was about 1.5 years or whatever, but actually we had stuff over here where the target operating model people were really focused. Sheds. Who was the guy that said, I do sheds, where are my sheds? He meant benefit centres. This is another exercise we did for jobs on UC. Again, it probably took us, initially, it took us an hour and a half to have these conversations, to put some ideas on a wall, and then we refined it, and refined it. And I haven't spoken to you about this, so we settled on an approach. I don't know whether it's changed massively.
No, it's still the basis.
Yeah, I'm sure the times might have switched around and some of the priorities might have moved around. But doing this, asking 7 questions to build yourself a roadmap, you can get one up on the wall in an hour. Yeah, it's really, really quick, and you can force the conversation to the right. You know, you can say, well, what next, what next, what next? So you build this iterative and incremental service. We did this with UC jobs, trying to make it pretty. That was a mistake. Yeah, don't make it pretty. But this was kind of trying to communicate what the roadmap was. Yeah, nothing to do with Agile there, nothing to do with epics, no Gantt chart. It was just describing a strategic approach to build to deliver some outcomes. Yeah. Yeah, make any sense? So yeah, lesson from that was don't make it digital too soon. Keep it on the wall, keep the conversation going. And this is another one that's work in progress for Wills. We did 2 or 3 road mapping exercises on the wall. So we had compliance, we had IT, we had legal experts, we had a delivery team, digital delivery team. They very quickly came up with this, and we just sort of put it down into paper. Actually, yeah, this was useful for us. So some behaviours. I think I've talked about a lot of them already, and some bad smells. Yeah. Think of the whole service. Yeah. Don't think about technology, digital. Our organisations, all of our organisations are buggers at this. They divide the world into departments and bits. They create false silos sometimes. Break those down. Think about it as a whole. For us, what's the user need? What's the service? Capabilities I've talked about. See it as a whole. Yeah. Challenge those difficult conversations. Yeah. I understand, well, from my time in DWP, there was technology. And there was lots of different bits. Bring them all together. Talk about it as a whole. Yeah, use different language. Road mapping's a really good technique for doing that. You don't have to be all agile-y and sprinty and epic-y, and you don't have to talk about Gantt charts really. Some of the assumptions around that will come out, but you don't need to use that language. Yeah, it's just the talking that's the important thing here. Having it on a wall is really good because you can keep on adding to it. Yeah. Don't know what the right artifact is. I think, if you have, for example, 7 questions roadmap on your wall, actually people can take stuff from that and build Gantt charts from it if they want to, if that's what they really must do. Procurement is sequential. Let them do the Gantt. It's fine. Service delivery, where squishy humans are involved and we don't know how their behaviours, what their behaviours are going to be around a service. Yeah, break it into your epics, do it into your stories. Yeah, measure stuff. Yeah, don't do it all in milestones. Milestones, fine if it's a real thing like an election date, great. It's a key date, can't change it. But we must deliver by, usually a lot of assumptions riding on that. Measure outcomes, measure capabilities. It changes your conversation with your stakeholders. They start thinking about real stuff, not about the plan. Nothing worse than everyone focusing on the blinking plan and not about the outcome. Keep at it. Make it visible. When you bring people into your room, point at it, talk about it. You'll have this same conversation 100 times, but that is winning the battles. Yeah, and you bring people on board by doing that. Keep revisiting it. Don't just do it and leave it and never come back to it. I don't know what's happened on UC, but I'm sure every 6 months you're thinking, does it still make sense? We're still on the right track. Don't give up. Attrition works. Totally made this up on the train. So here are what I think are the characteristics of a good roadmap. If you're having the right conversations, i.e. the tough ones, it's a good roadmap. Yeah. If it's just some cards on the wall, you're not having the conversation, it's pretty pointless. It describes the whole thing. It's not just one part of it. You really are getting alignment. Yeah. Interesting when you got, yeah, enough said. It just promotes alignment and describes outcomes, and you can measure them. Yeah. And it really doesn't care about methodology. Yeah, we might all care about methodology, but it shouldn't.